running a little bit behind, but we're good. All right. I'm gonna pick up where we left off. Oh, I saved it. I think I did. Could have swore I put a bookmark that last page, but I didn't realize it picked up the mic that much, but that's fine. Here, tutorials point, that's where I was. All right. Okay. I think that's the setup I had. Sorry, I didn't know that the thing bouncing so much made that much noise. But it's gonna have to do until I figure out what to do with it. Here we go. So last we left off. Man, what is that? It's gotta be this. All that tells me is that I'm gonna have to move this somewhere else, which is fine. Anyway, we left off with props, and we learned that here in the app, we pass in the props. Where's apps called at? Oh, app is called an index. All right. And then, what is that? Oh, it's getting the array from there, right? Okay. Kind of curious. I need to learn that, but we'll get to it in a minute. All right. I do need some music, but turn that down just a little bit. This one's called Endless Synthwave. Endless, a chill synthwave surprise mix. Give a shout out to the channel here. I like that artwork there. It's pretty cool. Looks like that astronaut's been in space too long. All right. So again, where we left off was here we're passing in the props. I'm sure that we could grab it from an input. We're going to use this as a placeholder, as placeholder data. And when the app is executed here in index, we'll put it in order. When it's executed here, Oh, you know what? Just to see, we're gonna take this out. We're gonna save it. We're gonna run npm start. I kind of want to see what would happen if we put it here. Well, I guess I would have to go first. So we're gonna call this var cost equals user data equals, well, change this to user data, right? And then we're gonna pass that in as a student props, or we'll call it user data, right? Keep it. And I guess, well, that wouldn't make sense, would it? And then here, we're gonna call it this dot user data props. All right. And we came up with can't read property map. We can do an alert here. Trying to figure out what that noise is. Anyway. Just I don't have a grasp on how that works. I mean, it works fine the other way. I don't understand why it wouldn't work there, but let's work with what we do understand at the moment. And that should work, which it does. Okay. Let's go back to the tutorial and follow the tutorial. I guess I should put the link in the tutorial. Update it. Okay. Here we go. Props overview. The main difference between state and props is that props are immutable. This is why the container and component should define the state that can be updated and changed. So we did that by defining the state here. And this is the state that can be updated and changed, while the child component should only pass data from the state using props, which is what we did here. This is that process student name list, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Then we go to, when we need immutable data in our component, we can just add props to React render function in main.js. Just because I want to go to environment setup, just see what's going on there. We have that. Babel, all that stuff. Web. I think they got the web back in there. Yeah, index. All right, this is what I wanted to see. So the index, we have the div with the app ID, and then this is app.js. This is the first React component. We will explain React components in depth in the subsequent adding subsequent chapter. This component will render hello world, right? Which makes sense. We need to import this component and render it to our root app element so we can see in the browser. So this is the parent.js file, and the app.js file feeds into main.js. So, okay. So let's go back and read what we did. Okay, so when we need immutable data in our component, we can just add props to reactDom.render function in main.js. So they kind of have it different here, right? So main.js actually has the props that are being passed into the app, versus where here I have this being passed into the app. So I think I want to try it the way I've been doing it. Well, no, this, yeah. Let's try that. Index is gonna grab. So maybe it's this. I think it's this. Okay, let's keep going. Can put it over there. Let's see here. We wanted to do this student array. We're gonna call it user data, just because I wanted to know what it is. And then user data, we're gonna go to, now this is where I was confused earlier. Let's check it out. So here in the main.js, we have a header prop, which equals a string, right? So here we're gonna call it student array, which equals an object with user data in it. And we know that's right because this now is saying is being used, which is good. Okay. And then inside the app, we're going to make a student list, which will be this.props student array.map. What did I call it in that? Index, I'm sorry. Use student array props. We're good there. This dot props header prop, which is being pulled in from this, right? Okay. So here, our app just has a render function. We're gonna take that out just for a minute. We're just gonna render it. Return. I mean, we could just do it this way, but I don't want to do it this way. We can take this from here and just put it here, and this should work. right? And we got that working. So again, we pass in the props here, which would be the user data. And this is the prop that's going to get passed into that. But we don't want to do that. We want to just have the student list here and the student list working here. So let's pass in here student list equals, we would call it this dot student array. Right? Right there, this dot student array props. Maybe we'll call it props for name, for proper nomenclature. And it should still work. No. Let's see here. Oh, okay. This should work because it's not props. It's kind of interesting here. Why wouldn't it just... Could we do something like this? This is where I get hung up at, man. Student list, add student array props. Or do I need to do that? Parsing our JSX value should be either an expression or a quoted JSX text. There's your expression. All right, then here we're going to You need to understand what's going on here, but I mean, all it is this. I don't know why I can't read through it. Let's try it again. this is annoying. User data. Maybe that's actually the way it's supposed to be. Because that's what they have here. And then here. Then we have our app. I'm just curious. So the modules can't reach out into each other, so listen to learn. Okay. And here they have the props being passed into a constructor. And React the component has the props as well. This .state has the header and the content. In our case, it has the student array, which we could actually call it user data just for the sake of understanding that it's coming from something the user's inputting, right? And then here, we render it using the header component. In this case, we're using the student list component, and we're giving it header prop. See, here is just called header. So student name list. Then here it should be called student name list prop. And it's going to be not working here. That's fine. Because we want it to be this prop student name list prop. And it'll work now. But I want to see the naming convention here, which would be in the header prop, and then here's the header prop, or I'm sorry, component. And it says this dot props dot header prop. And over here in our student list, we have this dot props dot student name list prop. And we map it out to have a value in an index. And for each key, which would be the index, we're going to print this value wrapped in an li tag, wrapped in a ul tag, wrapped in a div tag. So we got that going. Okay. So we understand now, right? Right. Okay. The result will again be the same as the previous two examples. The only thing that is different is the source of our data, which is now originally coming from the state. When we want to update it, we just need to update the state, and all child components will be updated. I have to read that again. Sentence breakdown. Whew. Will be the same as in the previous two examples. However, the only difference is, the only thing that is different is the source of the data, which is now originally coming from the state. Okay. So before, where did it come from? Just for comparison here. Right. Where's the state? Okay, so here we just wrote it in as opposed to putting it in, typing it in from the user data, quote unquote. Hey, Jose. And then reactJS, reactJS. Oh, that's not it. See here, we're getting the state and we're setting it. Then the props here. The props here we're getting from the app here. We can set default props. And here we're combining state and props. So here we have the state not set. We just have default ones. And then here we do not set the state either. We just get it, we put it in as a prop in the app. And then here we actually set the state ahead of time. And we take the state here. And then the only thing that is different is the sort of source of data, which is now originally coming from the state. Got it? When we want to update it, we need to, I'm going to break that one down right there. When we need to update it, we just need to update the state. I'm going to put and over here actually. And all child components will be updated. More on this in the events chapter, okay? Which is where we were in the actual reactJS deal there, website. All child components will be updated. More on this in the events chapter. So when we update the state, and all child components will be updated. More on this in the events chapter. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put events here. Events will update will update the child components. At least that's my guess. I know I shouldn't guess, but that's what we're doing. All right. So just feel like I just went through 29 minutes of catching up to where I was yesterday, even though I felt like I already understood this. But this last bit here really made sense, though, is that we're getting our source from the state and not actually from the component passing it in there. And I think that we have to have an original state that can be updated. But we'll see in the events, which I think is next. But let's see. So props validation. Properties validation is a useful way to force the correct usage of the components. This will help during development to avoid future bugs, problems once the app becomes larger. It also makes the code more readable since we can see how each component should be used. Let's see here. All right, validating props In this example, we are creating an app component with all the props that we need. App.prototypes is used to process validation. Is used for process validations. I'll make it a subpage. If some of the props aren't using the correct type that we assigned, we will get a console warning. After we specify validation patterns, we will set app default props. So we're creating an app component with all the props that we need. A component with all the props that we need. App.prop types is used for process validation. If some of the props aren't using the correct type that we assigned, we will get a console warning. Okay. After we specify validation patterns, we will set app.default props. So here we're getting a component that extends React.component class, or app class that extends React.component class. And in there we are rendering a div with many H3 tags, and they all have different types of value types. This .props prop array, this is an array obviously. This is going to be a boolean, this is going to be a function, this is going to be a prop number, prop string, prop object, object, and object. And then app.prototypes, prop array, react.prototypes array is required. So for all of these, we're having a requirement, and this one we're just signing the func keyword, I guess, or method, and then, or property maybe, and then a number property for prop types, and then a string property for prop types, and an object property. And they're being assigned to the prop types array. And then the default props are going to be this, and ds. Sorry. Prop object name, object value 1, object value 2, object value 3. So these are all prop objects. Then main.js will render the app into the app element with the ID app. I mean, I guess all this is saying is we can tell them what the prop should be. And out of curiosity, this is where I usually get in trouble, but no risk, no reward. So it's not in the actual class. Or is it? Yeah, I think it is inside the class. So here we can do, and it's after the render call, right? Or no, before? No, it's after. So let's find that. App.prop types equals an object prop array is react dot prop types and yeah. Unexpected token, period. Couldn't you put this here? So this actually wraps this. Okay. Well, I don't even want to do that. My question is, why is it not recognizing that the app is a unexpected token? You got the same thing going on here, huh? Oh, but it's outside. I hate when I do that. Right? And then networks here. Oh, it's a big word. Why is it? Oh, because it's going into React class. Is that because you're putting in an array? Where do you get the array from anyway? Well, let's try this. I still don't understand this. What is this? In this example, we are creating an app component with all the props that we need. App.prop types is used for props validation. If some of the props aren't using the correct type that we assigned, we will get a console warning after we specify validation patterns. Maybe because it's in the app and not in the student list. Let's try that. Gonna be something that we have to come back to. I mean, I get what's going on. I just don't get why it's not working. But maybe because here, I'm not reading all the code here. So let's look here. We have an app and we render array, this dot props dot prop array, which is this. And then here, I think that's it. Let's see here. I think the way I need to be looking at it is this. Is that it's not app.prop types. It's actually react.component.prop types. I think that's what it is. And I'm not gonna leave that there, but I'm just thinking I'm gonna leave it there just for vision. And then react. Right? Okay, that's fine. And then here, this dot props dot array. Okay, so let's take this into the next component. Okay, let's leave that there. It's like I know that they're getting this and putting it here. Maybe if I did this. Can I read property of a It's frustrating. I'll come back to this. I don't want to, again, just